Greetings, class. How are you progressing so far? I just wanted to do a quick video for Module 5 because now we're in Module 5. Wow, this time is just passing so fast. And some of your peers in your class have definitely been communicating with me by phone since the week 2 of the term, and they've shared that they found it to be very helpful. So I just wanted to kind of create this quick video to walk you through your Module 5 discussion and assignment because it's going to be different how to complete these two. So for those who I have already talked to in regards to Module 5, I'm just going to be saying it all over again, just to reach the students who do that I have not talked to in a conference call. So that way they can get the same assistance that as the peers who have been communicating with me by phone. And so, with that being said, I definitely want to, again, I cannot stress the importance of utilizing an optional conference call because I am here to help, and you get to hear my voice now. So when you're reading my emails or you're reading my feedback, you can tell that I'm here to help because I'm not the creator of this course, but we do have a guide to follow along with our expertise to ensure that you are learning those weekly course objectives that needs to be learned as it aligns with the module overview, your chapter readings, your discussions, and your assignments. So if you have any questions or concerns, I would like to present the option to give me a call instead of having to write a long, drawn out email, keeping in mind that this is a very large class and a lot of emails definitely come through, which I don't have a problem responding, but it's to get a quicker answer. It's always good to just reach out for clarity. So I cannot stress that enough, especially as we get closer and closer to your Module 7 assignment. Okay. So, and let's get back to Module 5. Okay. And so discussing Module 5, I am going to share my screen and we're going to take a look at just a couple of things and just so that you can have clarity. Okay. All right. So I am going to go to the announcements and hopefully everybody can see it. In addressing the announcements, we have now made it to Module 5. And of course, you see all of the reading articles that are assigned for this week, basically focusing on how to explore how to explore standardized instruments, because pretty much that's what they are. Standardized instruments, standardized tools that you can utilize to, it's going to be one or two things, either assess the services that are being provided in the nonprofit, or I'm going to allow standardized tools to assess your clients because sometimes these tools can get very challenging to try to locate. But I'll try to walk you through some of them. But you do have your guides here to give you a couple of tools that you can pull from. Now, just to give you a heads up, standardized tools are tools that are published by founders. Like a person created this tool, like the cognitive behavioral standardized assessment, or there's a behavioral assessment. It's just a lot of tools out there. And of course your readings talk about the organizational self-assessment. So all of these tools are out there and they're very helpful for you to utilize in your discussion when you only have to identify two of them. So reading those articles that actually talk about the assessments and like for the SWOT analysis, all of these key things, look at those standardized tools and pull out two of them and just address it, how it would relate to your discussion, in which we're going to go through that. All right. So also on, I think it is today, I released the final project milestone 3 drafting draft of budgeting and funding. So this is going to take a turn. This is not actually in regards to standardized instruments, because as you can see, there's not one word in here that says standardized instruments. So this is going to take a turn. So being that again, I can't stress this enough. I am not the creator of this content, but I do know how you can answer this based on the information that's provided. And I do know a helpful chapter in the course ebook that can help begin your assignment for your 5-2. All right, so let's just kind of take a look at your discussion first, and then I'm going to come back to this one. So I visited the announcement, so let's go over to your discussion. So for your Module 5 discussion, feel free to take notes or feel free to come back to this video if you want to at any given time. You're going to research assessments. You have a lot of articles that are in your readings that you can pull from that can actually give you some names of assessments in which you're going to describe the assessment. And when I say describe the assessment, it's basically like identifying the assessment and then kind of telling a little bit about how it was founded and what it is designed to do. So after researching your assessments, and they say found on the website, but I say you can pull them from your articles too as well. Feel free to do so. Conduct your own research about it. So look at who's the founder. When was this assessment created? Who is it designed for? Like what population or agency uses this assessment? And definitely give the citation. So citation means to include the author or author's name, comma, the copyright date or the year of publication of that assessment. When you're looking at assessments, it will some assessments are dated back to the early 70s. So it's okay to cite the year of publication if it's older, because according to APA, if it's an assessment or a theory, you can always date it back to the date it was created or founded or finalized. Okay, so after conducting your own research about it, like I said, talking about the assessment, who created it, what was it designed to do, what target population or what agency is the assessment made for, then in its actuality, you're actually going to do two of them. You're going to assess two of them, like search for two of them. Talk about if you believe, here it goes right here. You believe it will be useful in the nonprofit sector, which means that will it be useful at your agency? If it's not, I wouldn't use it. I would definitely say find an assessment that would be available to be used at your agency because it will give you more to say in your discussion. Also, your discussion asks that to address like, is the assessment available to be used in future work as you improve the organization or maybe add to the services for the clients that are enrolled in your program. Talk about how, like, can this assessment or this tool be used as something longevity? An example, and I'm going to go with one that can be used to service the population that's enrolled in the program. The cognitive behavioral instrument. Can this be something that can be consistently used in a mental health nonprofit that assesses maybe domestic violence or maybe assesses a substance abuse treatment and the many key factors that people have gone through to not only just beat substance abuse or to become a substance abuse survivor, but all of the other key life events that has happened to them. So with the cognitive behavioral, and it's a standardized instrument, you can assess where they are from a mental standpoint and how strong, where their strengths are to keep them from returning back to substance use, whether if it's alcohol, drugs, or what have you. So that's kind of like an example of how that particular assessment, or another word is instrument and another word is survey. So how that assessment, instrument, or survey can be useful in your own nonprofit, even in long-term services or when services are added to it. Another thing is for your second bullet right here, provide links to the assessment. So if you find the assessment online, provide a link to the assessment at the very bottom of your discussion, but definitely uh, cite your assessment as you are addressing it. If you don't know how to cite an assessment and that may not have a clear author or a copyright year, because journal articles always have an author and a copyright year. So you can just go to the Shapiro Library and just pull it up. But definitely email me and email me the link to the assessment, and I will definitely be happy to show you how to cite that in the body of your discussion. And then also choose a rationale for each assessment, and then discuss specific ways you can use the tool in future human services employment. So basically, it's just pretty much saying like what your articles are going to tell you in the readings. If you choose a standardized instrument to use to assess, and in another word is also tools or survey, to assess the effectiveness of services in your nonprofit. Can it be something that you can use from just not now, but all the way into the future as your so-called services improve or maybe be added or maybe as they advance in the future. So definitely just give a rationale. And the way to give a rationale with that is to always remember to look back at the assessment, look at what it does, pull the article that talks about the assessment and share some insight from that article. That will give you more conversation for your discussion. So I am going to just kind of do an example. I'm actually on the SNHU Shapiro Library. So I'm just going to look up some assessments. So using good keywords, let's see. I have a foundation that focuses on natural disaster victims. So basically, after a traumatic event such as a natural disaster, most of the time, my organization or a nonprofit is concerned about their mental and behavioral health. So, going back to cognitive, I can look at see if there's some cognitive assessments, or I like to say cognitive tools. And let's see what it gives me. Okay, here we go. Cognitive assessment tools. Here's one for the elderly in primary health care. And it's actually going to identify what it is. So if you see right here, I think if I click on it, it's going to take me there. But at the very bottom, it says subjects, cognitive evaluation. There's an instrument identified in that one. Also, there's also a comparative analysis. This one identifies 5 diagnostic tools in detecting mild cognitive impairment in older adults. So there's actually 5 real standardized, validated tools that I can pull from that to see if maybe it can help to assess the older adults who have been through a natural disaster or a traumatic experience. So all of these are just good ways to just get some examples of others, and it's also in other languages, to get examples of some cognitive behavioral, or see, like this particular article says psychological tools, so that you can address in your discussion. And remember, you only need 2. You only need 2 of them, okay? So let's see. I think this one might be more in, is it in Spanish or? Okay, let's see what we talk about here. Okay, it's 2 different languages. And here, if you scroll below, you will actually see the full article. So this is what you're looking for. And it tells you right here, these are the authors right there. That's the authors of the article. And let's see when the article was published. There's the DOI up there at the top right hand corner. If you click on that, you probably can see the date of publication. But this is one of the art. Oh, here it goes right here. Right there. I'm trying to do a little highlight. This article was published in 2020. So let me see, it may not take it. Ah, there it goes. You see a little line down there, it's in the corner. So I will cite the authors of the article, which is right here, only their last names in parentheses, and I will put comma 2020 inside parentheses. So here, this particular article talks about cognitive behavioral. So basically what I would do is actually look for what it says about cognitive behavioral in standardized testing or cognitive behavioral instruments used, and I would pull two and I would address it in my discussion and say, hey, they can be used for my agency to assess the cognitive and behavioral outcomes of a natural disaster. So this is just one of the examples. This is just a little bit uh, detailed, but it just kind of gives an idea of reading this article, learning how the cognitive behavioral testing is used or the instrument is used, and then being able to share that into your discussion. So hopefully that's a good example on how to complete your 5-1 evaluating assessments. Okay, now let's return back to your 5-2 final project milestone 3. Drafting a budget and funding. So anytime you hear the words budget and funding, that means numbers. So you can scroll anywhere on the internet and say, give me the budgeting and funding of a nonprofit, and it's definitely going to begin to talk to you about the numbers. So in this particular assignment, it's not just going to look for numbers, but you actually have to explain the budget. So let's kind of quickly go through this so that you can have an idea of how to complete this particular one. And I'll give you an excellent chapter that's not identified in Module 5, but it's in your ebook. And I mean, it breaks it down for you. Okay. So in 5-2, you're going to provide an overview of your selected agency. Just kind of talk a little bit about your agency again. Definitely mention its budget. You cannot address a nonprofit without mentioning its budget. That is a big plus. If you are interested in creating a nonprofit and you submit a proposal with little to no budget, you will not get that money because you actually have to do what they call like an itemized statement of your budget. That means that you address it in a narrative format, which means that it's like a regular paper, and then you provide the line item amount. But for this particular assignment, let's just go through it. It's real quick, okay? So at the beginning, definitely create an introduction that is an overview of your selected agency. So mention that agency again, mention its staff, mention its services, definitely mention its budget. Okay. Now, in this particular sentence right here in milestone 2, you further develop the workforce structure, which directly impacts the organization, budget, and funding. Notice it's not asking you to do anything. It's pretty much a statement reminding you of something you did. So there's nothing to do with that. All right. So your 5-2 final project milestone 3, here we go. Submit a draft of the budget and funding. Here are the keywords. Using the agency strategic plan. So that plan is what we talked about, I think, in module 1. Taking into account the information provided in module milestone 1 and 2, but I think we talked about it in 1 as it relates to budget and funding. I think those were the last 2 sections we addressed in module 1 for your assignment. Now, it reminds you this. Here's the key thing. This draft should be as detailed as possible. So that means that if you submit one paragraph of this answering 4 questions, that's a no-no. The person who developed this course is really telling you need to have details. So that means that you will need to detail a description of the staff, how you're going to pay them, how you're going to pay for the services, how you're going to pay for the functioning of your nonprofit, all of those key things. And notice the keyword says detailed. So when you submit a short summary of something, it's an injustice to even give you points for that. Okay, it has to be detailed. And of course, it reminds you in order to allow the instructor to provide significant feedback. And that I have been trying to do. So for anything you cannot understand, this is why I provide an optional way to pick up the phone and call, because I would be happy to revisit this information to make it much more clearer, especially for your Module 7 assignment, which is worth like 300 points. So we definitely want to get those, okay? All right, so now those are the key words that they say in this instruction area. Now here it goes. The last sentence says integrate. Integrate means no matter what, you include this in your paper with support and citation. So integrate means to include this. Number one, based on the relationship between the agency's budget and the delivery of services. Two things you know that this thing is number one is asking you for. Agency's budget. One, go back and look at your budget, and then go back and look at your delivery of services. On a sheet of paper or on your computer, write down number one is asking me two things. Let me write down the budget, and then let me write down the delivery of services. Now, this is how I'm going to answer number one. Explain the need for maintaining the budget based on ethical standards in human services. Provide examples of ethical decisions that will improve the agency's services and community. So this is where it gets a little tricky. Okay? So I'm going to say it as clear as I can. You have the agency's budget. You have the delivery of services. What you're going to do is write those two down and then go to your ethical standards, which is the NOHS, National Organization for Human Services Standards website, and pull a couple of examples that aligns with the service delivery or the delivery of services you provide and how you provide them ethically. And once you have pulled two, maybe two or three that kind of matches what you expect to be done in a professional, ethical environment with your staff, then you provide the examples of those and then talk about by doing that, by working in an ethical, professional environment, how will it improve the agency service in the community? Did that become clear? All right, so let's take a look at number two. Describe decisions regarding personal changes and the agency's budget influence the quality of program services. I didn't want to say that last part because here, again, there's two key things it's going to ask you first. Describe, we're not going to look at decisions, but we need to write down personnel changes. So if you talked about the personnel changes in your recruitment or retention section, go back and pull that information. And just a quick tip so you all will know, in Chapter 9, personnel is actually run by Human Resources Management. It's not run by the Executive Director. So go back in Chapter 9. I want to say 270, oh, don't quote me, but it's in 270 something. And look at Chapter 9 in your ebook, because the Human Resources Management team actually oversees personnel changes. But the executive director, founder, or any management running the nonprofit, they're responsible for the agency's budget. So when you're talking about the decisions regarding personnel changes and the agency's budget, you're actually talking about the decisions on how human resources management works with the agency's management, which is the executive director, which would be you, or the founder, which would be you, to help influence the quality of program services. So, in other words, Human resources comes together with you as the founder or executive director, and together you both discuss how you're going to influence. Influence means to how you're going to promote better services to your clients. So never forget, this particular assignment still talks about and focuses on the clients that are enrolled in the program. Thirdly, analyze the relationships between grant funding and delivery of service. Here go two more keywords. So for your third one, you're going to write down, what is grant funding? What does that mean? Definitely explain it. And then go back to your delivery of services. And when they say analyze, this means what is the commonalities? Like how does the delivery of services, or I'm going to say it like this, let me make it so much easier. How can grant funding help to promote better delivery of services? In other words, will grant funding allow delivery of services to, or I should say it like this, will grant funding allow more resources to provide better services to your clients? Did that help? And lastly, describe how the plan may impact future funding sources. Again, there are two keywords that needs to be addressed in this one. The plan, you know where the plan came from? Go back and read at the top. It was right here, the plan. So don't get lost, because you see how this assignment still connects. So the agency strategic plan, notice it said agency strategic plan at the beginning, but for number 4, it said the plan, but it's still referring to this. So match word for word. Match word for word. Okay, and then describe how really it's supposed to say the agency strategic plan may impact the ability to get more funding to provide more services to the people enrolled in your program. Did that help? All right, so I put a few helpful tips down here. I said it addresses the funding budget, and then of course, definitely it helps to make each one of these its own paragraph or two. Give it a separate heading. So if you're answering number 1, definitely say, you can put a heading like agency's budget and delivery of services. Help me find the information to determine it matches each number. But do not number or do not place bullets in your papers. Bullets and numbers is not a thing in a nonprofit proposal. So if you definitely do that, and it's very short, if you ever try to go get grant funding, your paper's going to fall to the bottom of the stack. So in the event that you are having to know this knowledge in your job or future jobs, it's important to definitely create like a heading for that section and then go into addressing it. Okay? And here's where I revisit everything. Remember I gave you a helpful example on how to begin that paper. And then definitely written format, 2 to 3 pages. Please do not go past 2 to 3 pages. Like if you want to do like 4 or 5, that's good. But you really can say it quick and to the point. If you have any issues with it, definitely request a conference call. I'm here with you to help you through the end of the term. And then, of course, be mindful of this rubric, because this rubric is what I have to use to locate the information. Okay, now, notice I said at the bottom, please note the best chapter to answer this is chapter 12 in your ebook. So if you go to your ebook, and I'm clicking on the ebook right here, chapter 12 talks about financial management. So you can pull that information out and definitely look at how to incorporate that in addressing the services, long-term effectiveness of your program. They have this is another thing, key concepts. If I want to encourage you to get in the practice of identifying key concepts. You don't have to put them in bold because I already know what they are. Definitely look at the models. So as you're reading your chapters, see these key concepts right here, like bookkeeping. This is what we're looking to see in your paper. Accounting. These are all the key aspects it takes to financially run your nonprofit. Financial accounting, managerial accounting, pick one or two of those and discuss it. As long as I see those key concepts, I know that you know and you are learning what it takes to run a nonprofit. If you pull out just basic information like this, definitely make sure that it has some substance to it. And basically, the substance comes from either citing where it is or having a point, make a point with it, and say, and let us know, this is valuable to the organization. But also be mindful of making sure that it aligns with the rubric. Look at, and of course, we don't have to actually put in talk about checking accounts or anything like that. But there's keywords like operating reserve. Look at those. All of these keywords right here, board designated endowment. Read those and learn those because this is the financial aspect. All of these keywords, accounts receivable, accounting, the cash basis of accounting. All of these are keywords that actually enhances your knowledge on how to financially run a nonprofit to provide the best services to the clients enrolled in your program. Talk about the financial accounting standards if you want to, but basically look at these key components. Now, this is not required, but this is what I told you at the beginning. If you recall when I said there are two forms of financially addressing your nonprofit. That is the budget and the funding. Okay. This information, all of this writing here will be considered the budget. And I'm not trying to copy it. I'm just trying to highlight it for you. But when you get here, this is what we call line item funding. This is an example. And this is not, and I repeat, this is not required for this assignment. So this is your line item funding. If I've had some students in the class, they actually create the line item funding first, which I don't want to do a flashcard, which gave them the best way to address their assignment. So some of them, they chose to do this first, and then they said that helped them write it out a whole lot better. Definitely look at things like financial statement of financial positions. That's part of creating and financially running a nonprofit. Statement of activities. Go through chapter 12 and look at all of these bold keywords because these are the keywords that you're going to use to be able to explain financially how you're going to run this nonprofit and incorporate them into your assignment. Incorporate them into the conversation of your assignment. Let me go back to it. Let's see where it's at. Okay, so pretty much I already walked through it. So, but definitely incorporate it in how you're going to answer these right here for your module 5. Let me see, I'm clicking. There we go. Answer these right here. So create a heading for each one. Definitely create an introduction. Always know that your references should go on the next blank page. They should not go after your body of the paper. I posted a sample APA paper in the class. I encourage you to really learn how to do APA because in the human services and social work, psychology, psychiatry field, mental health, they all use APA. And so a lot of these jobs are given writing samples. So if you learn how to use APA, that tells them that you will learn how to accurately write and chart the services that you will provide to help advance their agency or their program. And just strive to know this knowledge, because if you have a job or you're seeking a job or you're advancing at a job, you know that anytime you enter the interviews, and they're like interviews now with 5, 6 people, and including like the manager or the executive director or the founder or the owner. If you're sitting in front of them, they're not going to want to know what your transcripts say. They don't want to know you're an A student. A C student can be exceptionally well if they know this information. When you're sitting in front of them for an interview, they're going to want to know, what's this knowledge? Do you know how to help advance our job? Can you come in and contribute with the knowledge that you've learned to get your bachelor's degree to advance our job? And if you do not learn this in a very competitive world, other students in your communities, in your just in your state that are competing for the same jobs, but definitely know this, will have a better chance at getting these jobs. So I want you to strive to do the best that you can. I have my number there so that you can definitely reach out to me and let me know if you have any questions or concerns. I'm here with you, especially when you get ready to get to your Module 7 paper. If you want to send me a draft, that's fine. Definitely feel free to send me a draft. Send me a heads up and say, Dr. Bell, can you look at this paragraph? Tell me if I'm on the right track. I will be happy to do that. So I'm here to help you to excel. And that's my dedication, to give back. Because if you scroll my name in the internet, I've done so much to help you get further than me. So with that being said, if you have any other questions or concerns, feel free to reach me. Keep the belief and the determination that you got this, because I already believe that you can excel in life when you are done with this degree. So other than that, have a great night or great day, and let me know if you have questions. Take care.